Hello everybody, my name is Day. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I'm here today to do a hopefully quick wrap up of what I read in April. So for my overall stats, I actually read 10 books in April, which is a little lower than normal, but not something I'm overly concerned about. Currently, my Goodreads reading goal is at 75 books. I've reached 75 of 75 books, so I will be bumping that up sometime soon. I'm not sure what to quite yet. I kind of want to make it 100, but also I'm not sure if that's realistic. I feel like manga has really helped me out this year, and I will continue to count manga. However, I just don't know how much more I will be reading. Like, will I make it to 100? I'm not sure. But either way, I read 10 books, and of those 10 books, only one of them was off of my backlist, which kind of sucks because I'm trying to get through my TBR and I just keep finding books to continue reading. By the way, I'm very happy with 10 books, and we will see how next month goes. My TBR for May features some of the books up here, and it is already posted, so I hope you go check it out. So the first 4 books are manga, and I'm gonna put them all together because they were the completion of a series. I read Solo Leveling volumes 7 through 10, which essentially covered the completion of the main story, a few one-shot stories, and also the introduction of a storyline. I don't really want to spoil just in case people haven't read it yet, but the introduction of a storyline that is following somebody very close to Jinu that I very much enjoyed. It was a really good time. Honestly, Solo Leveling has my entire heart. It is the best rags to riches underdog story that I've read in a long time. And I liked that even though the main character ends up being super overpowered and like can beat everybody, they still give him challenges, because I feel like I was a little bit worried as he continued to get stronger who he was gonna fight after. It's not interesting if they win without effort. So they kept it going, they kept it interesting, and I'm so happy that I very randomly started reading it. I'm so excited for when the show catches up. I'm just gonna do a full rewatch. It's gonna be great. I overall gave the series a 5 stars, but I do have a small gripe with the abruptness of the ending. I think because I was expecting 200 chapters of main story, and I think it only ended up going to 176 or something like that. So I had still expected several more chapters of content, but those extra chapters were the one-shots and the new storyline. So it's not really the fault of the story. I just had the expectation that it was going to continue to chapter 200. So when it stopped, when it ended, I was like, oh, where's the rest? But you get the rest in the one-shots and the basically alternate universe stuff. So I didn't love that it stopped so abruptly, but they made up for it with all the one-shots and everything that came after. So it's okay. It's a 5-star read. Everybody should go and read the Solo Leveling manhwa. So good. Book number 2 is 100% my least favorite for the month. It's called Seed by Anya Albahorn. This story basically follows a man and his family after they survive a pretty gnarly car crash. Everybody is unharmed, thankfully, but the next day, the youngest daughter of the family starts acting not like herself, and unfortunately the father has seen her symptoms before in his past life. I think this could have been a very cool demonic possession story that falls flat on most aspects, in my opinion. I gave it a 1 star. I was really hoping that the story would start. Like it felt like I was reading and waiting for the story to begin. Like, okay, you've set everything up, but now like do the thing. And I feel like the thing never was done. Overall, all of the decisions made by the father in the story were illogical and made me dislike him and the story overall. The story tried to explain away his strangeness by saying that he didn't have control of his body, but the problem wasn't that his actions weren't making sense. His mind also did not make any sense. Like, sure, the whatever can control your body and make it so that you can't speak what you should be speaking, whatever, but in your mind you're still totally fine with everything that's happening. Essentially, the husband character watched his own mother's sanity deteriorate when he was a child because of his own possession, and now he seems totally fine with watching his wife's sanity also deteriorate because of their daughter. And again, the action portion of like, he should say something, but whatever it is forcing him to say something else, that's fine. But in his mind, he's like, yeah, I know this isn't gonna really do anything, but let's go anyways. I know she doesn't really need a shrink, but let's go anyways. Like, it I was so frustrated reading this book, I cannot even explain. And like I said, I just feel like if the whole book was condensed down, it would be a great first quarter. But like, I need all the rest of the book still. And it didn't have that. Not everything is made for everybody. That is my motto. So I did not like it. I gave it a 1 star because I finished it. I was disappointed because the premise is really cool. I found it as a TikTok recommendation. Actually, somebody hyped it up on TikTok and I was like, ooh, that sounds really good. TikTok is not always right, so. But anyways, so that was Seed by Anya Alborn, the lowest rated book that I read this month, but I finished it, so on to the next one. So the next book is kind of a random addition. It's nonfiction, which I don't really read, but I enjoyed it. I read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Mary Kondo, and I gave it a 3.75. It was actually like not a bad book at all. There was definitely some stuff that felt a little smoke and mirror-y to me. Is that a thing? Does that make sense? Like, there were some things that I simply shan't do ever. But there was some really good discussion on like the amount of things that we have and what do all of these things do for us. One of the things that like stuck with me the most in the book was that part of Mary's method is that you need to take everything and touch it. So like, empty out all your dressers and your closet and you pick up every piece of clothing and touch it. Be like, does this bring me joy? Holding each thing and being like, do I need this? What do I need it for? Why do I have it? I thought that was great. I also did my wardrobe like swap from summer to winter, and I also like packed a bunch of things for donation, and I listened to this book while I was doing those things. So it was a very pleasant read, and I gave it 3.75. It was great. You guys should read it. Honestly, like I said, there's some stuff that is a little out there for me, but like overall the message of paring down to the things that you actually need was well received by me. So 3.75, I liked it. Okay, next is 19 Claws and a Blackbird by Agustina Bastarrica. I don't really know what to say about this collection of short stories. Overall, it was fine. I cannot name a single story or like think of a single plot in the book that I was like, oh yeah, that was great. I feel like everything was just okay. Everything was weird. I gave the book a 3-star overall. It's very short, quick read, but I feel like after reading Tender's the Flesh and now this book, 19 Claws and a Blackbird, I feel like while I didn't rate either of those books low and I didn't dislike either of those books, I feel like I don't really need to read anything by this author anymore either. I don't know if that's a thing that anybody else has like felt, but like, while I don't dislike the author or their stories or their writing style, I feel like I'm happy with what I've read and I don't think I need to read anymore. So that's what I got for that one. It was fine. It's on Everand. I was going to buy it. I'm glad I did not buy it, but I'm still glad that I read it. Like, it was fine. So next, Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I was surprised by this one, and not all 100% in a good way. I think most people know the story of Coraline. Basically, the girl moves into a new house with her parents, and there is a tiny door that with a special key can unlock another world that is a copy of her current home, and she has an other mother and an other father and other neighbors who want her to stay in that world with them. I wasn't sure if it's a middle grade or a like younger YA like horror fantasy novel. It has an excellent movie adaptation that I have watched several times. It's so good. So I went into the book thinking that they would be equivalent, and they are, of course, in a lot of ways, because one is based on the other. But I was very surprised by the writing style. I don't know if it's because Neil Gaiman was writing for younger kids, so he really simplified the prose and like how people spoke, but it just felt very stiff to me. And I actually Googled around, because the only other thing that I've read by Neil Gaiman is American Gods, and I loved American Gods, and I was wondering if maybe Coraline came out way before American Gods, and maybe Neil Gaiman kind of came into his writing style, because I thought American Gods was amazingly done. However, Googling, Coraline actually came out the year after American Gods, so I don't really know what the excuse is. But while I still enjoyed the overall story, I did not love the way the story was written. That's kind of where I'm at. I gave it 3.75. Overall, the story was awesome and creepy, and what I love about Coraline, I just was kind of surprised by the writing style. But I'll read more Neil Gaiman, that's fine. Second last is The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nevo. This is a novella that is basically about animals, but they feel so human. I honestly was not 100% sure if it was about humans with animal names or animals with human emotions. I'm pretty sure they are animals with human names and emotions, but they felt like really real. Like at certain points I forgot that they were supposed to be animals. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's somebody's like, oh yeah, rabbit, and I was like, oh yeah, rabbit. Anyways, I'm unsure, but I digress. This was a really random impulse read. I saw it on Everand, and it's actually a book that I own. It's not here, it's with the rest of my books that I've packed away. I've owned it for a really long time and have never gotten to it, and I'm really glad that I finally did. I gave it a 4.5 stars. I thought the writing style was beautiful. I thought the story in a story was told really well and kept me like intrigued on not only the main story but the story being told by one of the characters, and I really liked the ending. Yeah, overall it was a really well done novella, and I'm really happy that I decided to finally get to it. This is my first time reading anything by Nevo. I would definitely read something else by them as well. I think there are a couple of these animal-based novellas. I feel like there are a few of them, so I'm gonna look into it more, but I really enjoyed this one. I would recommend people to read it for a quick fantasy read. You won't regret it, I don't think. And then the last book that I read this month, or last month, is Your Heart is the Sea by Nikita Gill. This is actually a poetry collection that I read for my video on poetry study. April is National Poetry Month, so I was studying to write, I can't say better because I don't write poetry, so to write any poetry at all. And that was one of the books that I read. Nikita Gill is my favorite poet. I don't know many poets, but I do know Nikita Gill, and she is my favorite, and she remains my favorite. I really enjoyed the book. It had a lot of variety for the topics that were discussed in the poem. They were all beautifully done and beautifully organized, and overall I just really enjoyed it. It gave it 4 stars. We'll continue to read Nikita Gill for a long time. And then with my books done, I wanted to really quickly say what my goals for May are. I tried to keep it low just because I have some other stuff going on, but I want to read 3 physical books. I have a very large stack of them here on my TBR. I'm 60% through one already, which will be in a vlog coming up, but overall the goal is to read 3 physical books and 10 books total. If all goes well, hopefully those 10 books are off of my Asian Readathon TBR. If not, they will be 10 books of something else. Please keep your fingers crossed for me. I'm enjoying both of the books that I'm reading right now, and hopefully I'll be through with them sometime early on this week, so I can start some of the other ones. There are some very thick books on my TBR this month, so I need to pick up the pace a little bit. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Please let me know what your favorite book was in April, and let me know what you're looking forward to reading in May. Don't forget to check the description down below for some links and to check out some of my friends who also like to read and write and chat. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I will see you somewhere on the internet. Bye.